have to kind of take a step back a little bit and ask ourselves, who really is my audience today? And if I listen to Gartner, which we do, and cherish that valuable insight, 60% of that pre-sales research, analysis, and contact is all done before a single sales rep of the company is even called. Now, that's a very powerful percentage, because it means that people want to get in touch with you at all times of the day when they want, not just when you feel that their operating hours are going to allow them to call you, but maybe at 2 o'clock at night, maybe at 5 o'clock in the morning. The whole principle of that first touch has been changed. And I'd like to talk about the differences, because they are very similar in nature, but they're also a little different. So self-service content, digital assets and applications are really an organization's opportunity to make a massive impact on your customer base, earn more prospects, build more loyalty. And I think that when you're building that loyalty, often, especially with e-commerce, we try to understand the buyer journeys. A customer will gladly let you know when they need to talk to you, but all other times it really should be as easy as possible for them to do what they want, when they want, with the goods and services that you provide. This type of interaction is really an ultimate win-win. And today we're going to speak about the transactional component of self-service as it relates to the actual buy flow of e-commerce and the features and functionality that's expected of today's retailers, manufacturers, distributors. And we'll be showing you really how VirtoCommerce can, complemented with Microsoft's 365 platform, handles all of these topics natively and with ease. Remember, 40 under 40. That means that 40% of the buyers here in the United States are under 40. And they are used to streamlined services like Amazon with self-service features and mandate that their ecosystem that they play in, that they buy in, that they work in, the vendors that they handle are pretty much identical and handled with the same type of self-service features. And if we look at the content requirements for self-service, be it on the B2B side or on the B2C side, the transaction really begins with research. And we know this is going on without any phone calls. And if your brand doesn't provide this, then your prospects will find another online destination that does it, and they're highly unlikely to return to you. So you've actually lost that customer. And this slide is meant to share the different tools from a B2B and B2C perspective that have been proven highly successful for those buyers evaluating the products, really at that beginning of the marketing funnel, the engage funnel. And they're especially helpful in the convert phase of your customer's acquisition journey. Most importantly, finding a partner that enables this type of operational software and project automation in these key areas will ultimately drive much higher customer engagement and done, faster and cheaper. So if we look at VirtoCommerce's application framework being sort of an API-first architecture, plugging it into the Microsoft 365 platform is really easy, whether we're talking about using web bots and customer service bots on e-commerce sites and integrating them into, right now it takes about 7 minutes for me to deploy my environment to the Azure cloud. So obviously there are massive value propositions from having that available to us. If I look today really at what the buyers and some of the audits that Gartner did, they're getting some really interesting results back. The typical buying group for a complex B2B solution could involve around 10 decision makers, and each armed with 4 or 5 pieces of information that they've gathered independently, and they have to bring it all together and sort of deconflict with the group and get a buying decision out of a group. And making the buying process easy and eliminating this complexity from the front end user experience, of course, is an art in itself. But nonetheless, it's mandatory to increase adoption, market share, and even the lifetime value of your customers. I always use the example of website registration. I've been deploying B2B manufacturing and distribution websites for a long time, over 10 years. And I've met with various CEOs and department heads, and I've always seen a reluctance to want to sort of make that sign up easy. Oh, I need account pricing. I need to understand their buying volume. I need to do a LexisNexis, a DMB lookup, a credit check. Of course, all of those things have to be done. I don't want to expose my pricing. It's all too sensitive. And then 2 seconds later, I go over to Amazon, I sign up for B2B supply, and I see the very prices that were meant to be sensitive given to me immediately. So this world is changing, and especially as it relates to exposing your complexity. Of course, the customer doesn't need to know all of the steps that you need to go through in order to do that. And I'm not asking for that complexity to be hidden, but it doesn't need to be exposed to the client. So for us, just the simple step of the very first part of wanting to do business with you should be made extremely easy. And that onboarding process should take days and not 3 or 4 weeks, as do many suppliers today because of all of the back-end operational complexity they have. And that goes one step further now, and I think it's even being amplified with today's pandemic. So obviously, e-commerce and self-service tools are the way to move forward. I think we can all understand that in a world where customers want a more frictionless buying experience. And finding the right way to use these tools as a B2B company comes down to examining all the processes, both within your company and that prospects and customers go through in their buying journey, and understanding how that buyer really interacts with you, and doing the due diligence of meeting them, talking to their colleagues, asking how they want to interact with your brand is extremely important. But applying the sales team and the right tools to streamline your business process to offer an e-commerce experience that's efficient and customer directed, and that is easy and will delight your customers, makes the company just a pleasure to do business with. But there's going to be a lot of changes in who you will be talking to and how they're going to interact with you, because over the next 3 to 5 years, 30–40% of the entire customer service serve me bucket. The serve me bucket is just take my order, okay? Order takers. They are going to see a very large reduction in being staffed inside of call centers. Why? Because the more self-service features you enable, the more automated it becomes, and that sort of target employee can be retooled to do other more value-added activities within the organization. I think the second most impacted sales role will really be the explainers, and having a way to sort of guide an individual through because this person may not know how to do it. Well, with the knowledge management tools that we have today, with frequently asked questions and all sorts of video tutorials, that role will be reduced probably between 20 and 30%, according to Gartner, over the next 3 to 5 years. Again, another massive reduction in the, I think it's over 2 million B2B sales reps that we have in the United States right now. So that's a sizable number in reduction. The guide me is going to be less impacted. That's the third sales role reduction that will happen. And those navigators, if you have a very complex SKU set with configure to order bundles that are not automated and really require a ton of industry knowledge in order to do the configuration of it, of course, those roles will maintain themselves, but it's still estimated to be reducing itself by about 10 to 20%. So that means that, you know, software like configure to order that Virto does is really going to be important so that those rules can be configured into the application so that the buyer doesn't need to understand, well, does this valve fit with this pump, etc., because the make fit analysis is done by our system and is not done by the buyer themselves having to look it up for compatibility, etc. And the one that will really sort of remain constant at maybe about 5 to 15% over the next 3 to 5 years is the consulting side of the sales role. And that's really the most important part. That's where two companies really touch to discuss, you know, larger projects, ones that are usually highly profitable for you. And I think that those are the ones that will sort of remain as stagnant as possible. And then I often, especially looking at nurturing the online self-service channel, I often get pushbacks by organizations facing operational challenges. Those operational challenges could be sales commissions. So now I have an online channel, and now I have a sales rep that has been making a handsome living on his or her commission for the last years, and they feel that that could sometimes mean a threat. And if you follow organizations like Ferguson, one of the most dominant distributors in the United States, or you look at Cisco, and you look at how they structured their organizations when they went through this digital transformation of self-service automation, you found that they were actually double comping their sales reps to filter all of their business to the online channel. That meant the adoption was very strong. It meant the automation was extremely high, and it meant the per order average cost was reduced by 30 to 40% within the first year. And going into large organizations, that's a massive reduction in costs per order. So, but, you know, sales teams could be reluctant. They feel like they may be giving up their relationships, their customers, just to pass the orders directly to the online channel, and feel sometimes that they could be, you know, removed. This is a common self-service roadblock, and it's real. It's real for manufacturers, distributors, any successful company that has a large sales force. But as I said, some of that shift in the online channel I've seen with more than sort of a 1.3x in multipliers for their compensation models. And this type of incentive has obviously accelerated the channel shift much more effectively than others, still holding on to that static P&L model of online and offline. It's very hard to navigate when you build those own internal silos within your organization. And today, in 2021, I still hear comments such as, oh well, you know, my B2B online channel is a cost center, not a revenue channel, a cost center. I still hear that quite frequently. And it's very hard for me to justify spending in that area. Well, I can say that not the case in those companies that still think that they're going to be overtaken with the next 5 years by those competitors that have laid the foundation for a channel shift and a self-service and growth required to be competitive in today's world. So if we, let me just go back one second, because this is the analysis of a very large distributor in the United States on the level of self-service engagement by the different persona types. And this is really meant to show that we have a lot of different personas that interact with your portal, with your brand in many different ways. A buyer may be more interested in first contact through internet search. Maybe it's from support or ticketing that they need a higher level of self-service. The sales manager is definitely more engaged in the CRM application or in your partner central area. The administrator obviously could be involved in a variety of areas. The sales agent across the different online domains, as well as your partner central and maybe even the support and ticketing. And on the service side, it's definitely on the different website domains. So they all interact in different ways and want to be spoken to. And having a profile-based, driven, personalized B2B application platform that allows you to translate the persona behavior into functionality that you push out to your front end sounds pretty easy in 2021. But when I look at Gartner's Magic Quadrant on the B2B side, there's very few companies that do it very well. So for us, we feel that we're very well equipped to take us into the new adoption of these self-service tools with a modern architecture that really reflects the industry shift that we've seen. The large implementations have been disappearing. People and, to be expected, the buyer of Virto systems, they want it done faster, they want it done cheaper, they want it done with a higher quality and in a reduced amount of time. And I think with our service and API-based architecture, we can plug into virtually any backend and infrastructure that we need to. So let's take a step deeper just for 1 second, and let's look at the actual features and functionality that I see today being used in state-of-the-art B2B manufacturing or distributors. Obviously, it begins with the registration, right, that we talked about earlier. That's really the beginning step of opening up your brand to the world. And it can be simple as a one-pager. Again, back to hiding all of the complexity. You deal with what you need to on the back end, but for the customer, they need a login, they need the ability to have custom pricing so that they can begin their journey either by researching your products that we discussed earlier. But now I'm going to focus more on the transactional side by creating a quote. Quotes can be anonymous, they can be logged in. And again, that's another thing that I battle with manufacturers, the anonymous quote. Why would you not want to allow anyone in your in the web to come to your destination and get a quote for your product? Sounds pretty logical to the buyer, doesn't it? Especially the new one wanting to become a customer of you. And yet there's a very high reluctance to open up that quoting functionality to a broader audience set. Configurable products, the make fit of the automotive industry or the valve and pump industry, or even down to buying a Boeing engine, all of this has been automated online. Some of that's done in our products, some of it is done with products outside of our application to handle the very complex use cases. But the bottom line is it can be automated, should be automated, and should allow an intuitive user flow without having the knowledge of what really is compatible. A bulk order, we all understand that buyers interact with our brand differently. They don't want to surf our product detail pages to buy and add to cart, as one would do in retail, by the way. They just want a web form where they can upload either an Excel spreadsheet or just add multiple SKUs in there, because they've already gone to the warehouse, they've got their scanner, they know their inventory quantities and the SKUs that they need. They just want an easy way to talk to us. And by offering that type of bulk order uploading capabilities, it's automated for them. And it creates that stickiness. If you can get a buyer in and out in 2 or 3 minutes, then they're not going to go to the competitor, even if the competitor is cheaper, if it takes them 45 minutes to do their job. That's not how the 40 under 40 work. That's not how their brains are wired, right? And then customizing different lists, you know, if you're in the distribution business, you may have specific configurations that you can pre-configure with list functionality, so you can allow your sales reps to walk in and just pick, oh, I'll pick the version B that has all of these components already pre-added, saving a ton of time for those people wanting to automate. Workflow and approval. We heard earlier on in the chat we were having about, you know, between 6 and 10 people being involved in that purchasing decision. Well, it would be nice to take this product that you're wanting to be purchased and talk to your own buyers within your own organization, forward it to an individual so that they can approve it or decline it because it doesn't meet their needs or they don't like something about the product. And that can be done for non-contracted prices as well as contracted prices. Warehouse visibility and order, let's call it consistency. Well, one of the things that made Amazon really popular was knowing that you were going to get your product the next day. And this type of consistency means that buyers can plan. So warehouse visibility is just one step in the entire back office of order automation and visibility that allows your customers and buyers to feel comfortable that they're going to get their products for the project on time, whether that's delivered out on site to a project site, or it's delivered to a warehouse, or it's doing curbside pickup right now because of the circumstances that we live in. Our product at Virto handles all of those nuances and can allow your own warehouse visibility to be shown to your customers so that they know exactly when and where they're going to receive their products, so that the project manager can make sure they have an on-time delivery for the project they're ordering for. That goes a lot to hand in hand with order messaging and communicating real time with your customers, adding the SMS type functionality into it so that that last mile delivery can really be communicated well across the entire channel, not only for the buyers, but also for their sales force as well. The same goes for purchase orders. Purchase orders, I think, you know, when you're in the B2B world and buying with a PO, it is really important to understand how that purchase process works. So inside of Virto, we have the capability to do that in a variety of ways and assign different roles to different people that have the ability to buy on purchase order. Some may not be able to use credit cards. And there are various roles within your organization that you want to extend to your customers. Sitting in the Azure cloud affords us a lot of reporting, both at the infrastructure level, but also at the application level as well as the native reporting that sits inside of Virto. So combined with a web analytics tool, with Microsoft Insights and Virto reporting, we feel that all three channels of reporting, web, infrastructure, and application, can be handled with excellence. I think one of the most frequent, last developed automation tools for manufacturers and distributors seems to be the warranty side of the world. However, my argument is that it's one of the most important. And I get asked, why would you want to automate giving money back to a customer? It's not one of the first things we should automate, but it is one of the first things that your buyers judge you by. If it takes me 3 hours to return a product to brand A, and it takes me 2 minutes to return a product to brand B, then I don't want to waste 3 hours of my valuable time. So I lean towards where it's easy. And again, Amazon showed us how they are automating that. You know, when Bezos was asked if he was a product company or a service company, he said, I'm sorry, we are a complete service company. We're not a product company. And that type of philosophy change inside of organizations in 2021 has to happen in order to remain competitive with the massive amounts of self-service automation that are going on in the industry, maybe sometimes pushed for the wrong reason with the pandemic. But at the end of it, it really is the buyer that determines what features they want and the ability to adopt fast to them. So we're coming to the end of our presentation today, and I think I just wanted to close with a couple of words. You know, I've been here at Virto now for about 6 or 7 months, and I'm seeing a lot of synergy in the market between the affordable implementations with very feature-rich functionality in the self-service world. And if there's any questions that you guys have about our product, we'd be happy to share that offline with you. And I thank everyone for your time today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I wish you a safe and happy rest of the week.